The wild facts about sex in the Amazon. Good fish get dull, but sex is always fun. This is the sentence of one of the members of the tribe living in the Amazon River Valley that best describes the way they looked at their own intimacy. Men had a high dose of libido and often had to fight with other guys in order to win an attractive woman. Instead of money, the women would get fish as currency, so the guys tried to catch as much as possible. Like ours and some other civilizations, the Amazonian tribes are an extremely eroticized culture in which, as the peasants like to say, sex is the pepper that gives vitality. Among Amazonian tribes, there was a stigma against same-sex relationships as well as self-indulgence and incest. Intercourse with members of other nations is also prohibited. The only sexual object for pleasure should be a cross relative. There are also certain exceptions that villagers can make. Different sexual practices can be seen in mythology and rituals of these people. There you can see the relationships of close relatives, self-indulgence relationships with people of the same sex, or even with plants and animals, which is particularly bizarre. There were certain rituals in which men and women change roles, so women take care of the house and do all men's work, and men take care of children. In one of the rituals, men symbolically imitate the situation when women are in their menstrual cycle. We can talk about a matriarchally organized society unlike other civilizations that are organized in the form of patriarchy. Wild intimate customs of Amazon Canela tribe. The Canela are a tribe living in a single circular village of about 1,000 people. They stay in their natal home while males move to the home of their wife. Couples are instructed not to be sexually jealous. Girls have their first intimacy between the ages of 11 and 13, and the young male, perhaps 10 years older, that she has that first sex with automatically becomes her husband. There are many steps she has to go through before her marriage is secure, the final one being the birth of a child after a few months of marriage where the couple might not see much of each other. The girl is then expected to accept sexual invitations from other men. After doing so, she is then assigned along with another girl to a men's society during a summer festival and is expected to allow perhaps as many as 25 men to be intimate with her. Sequentially, she now wins her maturity belt, which after a brief period of seclusion is painted by her female in-laws. Her role now is predominantly to provide the men's needs in bed to motivate men to work and bond. Sometimes she receives some meat from them or other small gifts for her female kin. When a girl or woman does become pregnant and has intimacy during the pregnancy with a number of other men, these other men are also considered fathers, though with fewer obligations than the husband to the child. Bizarre battle of the sexes. The battle of the sexes in the Amazonian tribes is more than a metaphor. Men and women often make offensive intimate jokes in public. Men are very insecure about themselves and are afraid of women. There is great antagonism in male-female relations, but despite this they live together and smoothly carry out all the necessary activities together. Every romantic love arouses suspicion. Husband and wife should respect each other, and as their relationship develops, they should not be so intimate and pay a lot of attention to each other. Only a new emotional couple within the tribe is allowed something more than mere affection. The newly married couple spends most of their days together. The longer they are together, the affection turns out to be silly, and the spouses are teased by those around them. According to certain legends, excessive thoughts about a spouse attract snakes, jaguars, and evil spirits. A lonely boy is almost always celibate, especially while on medication. Towards the end of his stay, it is common for him to succumb to temptation and sneak out at night to have an affair. When his father hears about it, he forces him into public life. He is now becoming a man and is ready to get married. Cautiously, he enters the elaborate sexual network of relations within the village. Arranging sexual relations with most women can be extremely humiliating. Single girls don't have a problem because they don't have husbands who will make them jealous. Their fathers will be pleased if interested boys send gifts in the form of fish. Locals have a very casual attitude towards premarital courtship and sexual relations. It is problematic for men that most women are mostly married. Amazonian tribes have no problem with sexual relations outside of marriage, but pregnancy before marriage is strongly criticized. The mother of an illegitimate child is an object of ridicule. A child without a father and alone is vulnerable to abuse. Most girls get married as soon as they are out of their teenage years. Homosexuality in the Canela tribe. Male bonding within this single community is affected by quite severe training abuse, plus the bonding through the sharing of wives and sequential sex. During summer festivals with childless girls assigned to them for this purpose, youths also go through various interventions, instruction, and discipline to train them for militarist obedience. Sex is actually the most effective means of social control, especially social control of young men. The Canelo were once fierce fighters, and their socialization and intergenerational authority are based on their need for military discipline. They do, though, have to be instructed not to be jealous. The loss of warfare led to youths no longer submitting to control by the elders, and ultimately, male bonding and the suppression of sexual jealousy broke down. The majority of the sex is for male gratification, and as masturbation is strictly forbidden for both sexes, the fact that most sex lasts for a matter of seconds is perhaps not too difficult to believe. Canelo sex involves no kissing and no touching of the genitals. The man simply squats between the legs of the woman, who is not to move his hands to either side of her body for support. It is perhaps no wonder that girls and women might volunteer for sequential sex, as it is only after a series of short copulations that one might actually experience some pleasure. About every other year, there is an occurrence where a girl will not agree to sequential sex, and so she is forced to comply by a group of men each having sex with her to tame her, basically a punitive gang rape. She knows she has no choice and that even if injured, she will gain no sympathy. She has been raised to know what is expected of her and that she will have to comply. She is also told that she may even come to enjoy it, especially sex with a long-term lover, in time. Extramarital affairs and wife sharing are normal. All affairs involve extramarital affairs, but there is a danger because both men and women are very jealous. There are many myths that warn that adulterers can experience tremendous anger from their partners. According to these stories, adulterous couples can be beaten, dismembered, or stuck together forever during the sexual act. All men love sex, while women have a different situation. Women have a different view of sexuality than men and are much more open about it. Women can use their sexuality to survive, just like they will get a fish for intercourse with a man. Certain bursts stifle their nature. While she is a girl, she has no problems, but as she grows up, men make offensive comments about her reproductive organs when she gets her first period. She is accused of contaminating food, desecrating rituals, and causing diseases. Distinctive sexual relations are dangerous because there is a risk of pregnancy, which is very painful. The gift she receives from her lover is a guarantee that she will not be judged in society, and if her occasional boyfriend notices suspicious sexual behavior, she will be an object of ridicule. Entering the network of sexual contacts is very delicate. Girls can be bought with the help of one of the established lovers. In exchange for a small gift, she will agree to meet him for sex. A more daring option is for a guy to approach her when she is alone in a public place. The roads to the river and the bush are favorite places for intercourse. In those places, the guy takes the girl's hand firmly and tells her that he wants to have a relationship with her. The suitor can sweeten the marriage. Proposal with a gift in the form of soap, a comb, or a handful of beads. If the girl accepts, she will immediately indulge in relations in the bush. They can also do what is called a legatorium. The alligator is a metaphor that is inserted into the intimate lives of these people because the alligator is an animal full of libido. Sexual behavior varies with partner preferences. The most common position that Amazonian people have is a sitting pose. They do not practice intercourse on the floor because of the danger of insect bites. Favorite positions are practiced when they have enough privacy and time. There are other methods adapted to situations with less privacy. One of them is when couples have intercourse in the hammock, which is not exactly a comfortable position and there is not much privacy. Lesbian Amazon tribe. Deep in the Amazon lives a tribe of lesbians who reproduce without the involvement of penises, sperm, or any males at all. Nematophorus uniparens lost all of its males somewhere along the evolutionary cycle. Females now reproduce by female sex, and while the lizard is on top, it will intermittently rub its cloaco against the back of the passive female, stroking the back and neck with its jaws and forelimbs. The active female then grasps the back of the neck or shoulder of the passive female in its jaws and begins to curve and force its tail beneath the other's tail so that the cloacae of both is brought into close contact somewhat as a male lizard would so in order to erect one of its two penises through its cloaker. Once the orifices of both females are in contact, the courting female shifts its jaws to grip the lower half of the mounted female's body. This forces the couple to adopt the contorted posture characteristic of mating lizards of opposite sexes. Obviously, questions remain. We do not know how this female-on-female sexual act causes the eggs in a passive female to activate as if fertilized and begin dividing into embryos, and we do not know if this pseudo-copulation is required to start the process. There is evidence of solo females reproducing in captivity without another female's assistance. We also do not understand how this lizard passes on DNA correctly. Typical sexuality combines half the maternal and half the paternal DNA to give the child a new full set, but these lizards start with twice the normal DNA, so having it again gives their children a full set once again. God and Mother Nature laugh at our formally simplistic ideas of how sex works. A cloaker, by the way, is the name for the vent in the rear of many birds, fish, mammals, reptiles, and others that serves as the single orifice for the intestines, urinary tract, and reproduction. Descriptively enough, the word comes from Latin, meaning they have sex with wild animals. Relationships with animals are mentioned as a special type of sodomy. According to the testimonies, someone would be so insane that he would actually have an intimate relationship with animals. In the myths, sexual relations with animals were frequent, so it was evidently embedded in the culture of these people. It is mostly about encounters between women and snakes. Animals are used for these purposes because of sexual anxiety and fear of entering into relationships with people from other groups. Dreams about sexual relations with animals occur very often. Such dreams are never attributed to one's own sexual fantasies, but to a witch who causes nightmares. Dreams have predictive power, so if you have sex with worms, turtles, and snakes, it means that you will have sex. In reality, if you dream of a relationship with an anaconda, it is a symbol that you will be attacked by a sexually aggressive woman. Animal and human sexuality are therefore closely related, given that there are plenty of women around them that they can conquer in different ways. Homosexuality for these people is ridiculous. The culture of homosexual behavior is at a minimal level. There is a myth that two men had intercourse and then one of them got pregnant. In mythology, homosexuality is present, but in real life, it is at a miserable level. Unlike some other civilizations, incestuous relationships are strongly. Only relatives who are in a cross relationship can have relationships, and those are the children of brothers and sisters of the opposite sex. Often, these relationships are also considered very close, and marriage and this type of relationship are suitable for grandchildren of the opposite gender. As for self-indulgence, it is seen in older men who are left without a partner because he has passed away or for some other reason that cannot satisfy their sexual desire. Behavior. No one wants to have intimate relations with older women, so they use wax figures for the purpose of self-indulgence and shared fatherhood. Some of the customs of the tribes that live along its fertile riverbanks might seem absolutely bizarre to us, but they were probably practiced many thousands of years ago by our own ancestors. One of these is partible paternity. Basically, many Amazonian tribes believe that a woman must have sex with men in order to get pregnant, and that the child will have characteristics from all his or her fathers. They believe that the seed from all these men will collect in the mother's womb to create a single child. So how does a society like this function surprisingly well? And the ones who benefit from this custom are other children themselves in many indigenous South American. Partible paternity or shared fatherhood is an accepted truth. It's the idea that all the men that sleep with a woman contribute genetic material to a child, and among these peoples, all the fathers are expected to share the burden of raising the shared child. Among some tribes, all children have multiple fathers, while in others, a child has one main father. But partible paternity is accepted, so a married woman is allowed to take lovers during her pregnancy. Interestingly, jealousy doesn't seem to be a problem, as the husbands might have been raised by multiple fathers themselves. This is further reinforced by the belief that having multiple fathers is beneficial to a child. Human marriage patterns vary considerably across different cultures, so we shouldn't view the traditions of other ethnic groups through our own cultural lens. Yanomami Amazon tribe love and courtship play important roles in a Yanomami marriage. Young men often engage in fights known as hookah to attract the attention and admiration of young women. These fights, which involve physical combat and wrestling, serve as a form of courtship ritual. The women observe these fights and choose their partners based on the display of strength, agility, and bravery. Once a couple is engaged, a marriage ceremony takes place within the Yanomami community. This ceremony involves various rituals and festivities that celebrate the union of the couple. These rituals include the exchange of gifts between the families, traditional dances, and the consumption of special foods. The entire community participates in these ceremonies, strengthening the bonds between families and affirming the importance of marriage in Yanomami society. In Yanomami culture, marriage is not limited to the union between two individuals. It is a union between families and communities. As such, marriage is seen as a means to establish alliances, strengthen social networks, and ensure the survival and well-being of the entire community. The Yanomami also have specific beliefs and practices regarding sexuality and fertility. They believe in the importance of procreation and the continuation of their lineage. Sexual relations are not limited to married couples, but are also seen as a means to ensure the fertility of the community. Yanomami women often participate in communal sexual practices known as sharing wives, in which a woman may have sexual relations with multiple men. To increase the chances of conception, one key aspect of Yanomami love and marriage is the concept of shipuri, which refers to the act of courtship and the development of a romantic relationship. Young men and women engage in a series of rituals and interactions to express their interest in one another. These interactions can include exchanging gifts, spending time together, and participating in communal activities. Thanks for watching. Do like, subscribe, and comment.